You know what's so embarrassing about the liberals saying they stand with Ukraine? Do you guys realize that Ukraine does not stand with your ideologies? Number one.
Yes, Zelensky is getting a lot of people angry in the US and some part of the world. When you take a look at this video, according to the person who posted it, Zelensky says the quiet part out loud. If NATO Article 5 is triggered, the US will have to send their sons and daughters to fight. Should the US exit NATO? That is the question a lot of people puzzle through social media. I have a couple of videos. I'm going to show you Megyn Kelly didn't blink on this. If you've been following this channel, you realize for a few days now, I took a decision to follow this up.
You know what's so embarrassing about the liberals saying they stand with Ukraine? Do you guys realize that Ukraine does not stand with your ideologies? Number one, you know it's illegal to go into a gay marriage in Ukraine? Gay marriage is not legal. Ukraine solely believes that marriage is only between a man and a woman. You want to know what else is true for Ukraine? Right now, as we speak, there are men getting off of their streets, like literally just walking their dogs or walking home from work, and they are being snatched up and thrown into a van as they are screaming for their lives because they don't want to go fight in war that they'll lose. They have no say in where they're going. They are getting literally snatched off the street, just tracked down and snatched, not like a normal recruitment, okay? And they have no bodily autonomy to make that choice for themselves. Isn't that something you guys preach about? Wouldn't kidnapping someone off of the street to go fight in a war they don't want to fight in because they want peace, wouldn't that be dictatorship? Wouldn't that be lack of bodily autonomy, a lack of choice, and a little bit sociopathic? And you want to know what else is true for Ukraine right now? You want to know what else? Is that their soldiers in interviews are saying they don't want to fight anymore. They're tired, they're exhausted, and they want peace. They want the war to end, whether they win or lose. Their words, not mine. Whether they win or lose, they want the war to end. So because you are so against Trump and anything he does or says, you are disregarding and disrespecting the people actually on the front lines dying to save their country because they don't want to do it anymore. And Zelensky is just blatantly ignoring them by continuing this war and not going for peace. You want to know something, guys? Your entitlement is astounding to me. You will stand with any other country that is not America, and it's absolutely insane. Ukraine is not a part of NATO, okay? So because we made a verbal agreement 30 years ago based on an unrelated situation does not mean we have to keep going into trillions of dollars in debt for a country that we are not in NATO with. The agreement we made back in the 1990s was not binding law. It was an agreement, yes, but it was not binding. America can absolutely pull out if they deem fit. That is how it works. And guess what? $40 trillion in debt, and we are just dishing out billions when we can't even afford that for our own people, is irresponsible spending. And apparently Congress of 2023 felt the same way when they continuously blocked aid from Biden sending more aid. You would rather stand with a suffering dictatorship-like country than with your own people who are broken, starving because it's what Trump doesn't want. That shows more about you than it does anything about Trump, and it does anything about the war. So when you say you stand with Zelensky, you're standing with a man who does not stand on the same morals that you scream at everyone else for not having. So yeah, I'll say it again. If you guys had no double standards.
Yes, a little break before we continue. This lady is making a lot of sense. When I watched the whole this video, I was like, wow. She pointed out what Ukraine is putting out or what they are doing in their countries that liberals disagree in the US. So you can see the difference. You stand with someone who doesn't even stand with your own values. Then I don't get the point. Yes, if you've been watching this video very keenly, you see at the beginning, she made it clear. In this case, who is deceiving who? This reminded me of a video Adam Kenzuka released few hours ago. I was actually shocked to hear this guy still struggle to go off on Trump. I understand he is suffering from high TDS, but they should learn to control it sometimes.
Trump and Vance are absolute cowards. Like, we should be thanking Ukraine for taking on the Russians, for fighting back against the Russian invasion, which, by the way, yes, the Russians invaded, when Donald Trump is too scared to even stand next to Vladimir Putin and say something bad about him. He's scared of Vladimir Putin, and he's president of the United States, and he dares to lecture Zelensky. And Vance, who's made it very clear that he doesn't give a rat's ass what happens in Ukraine, is going to stand there and try to provoke a confrontation. Remember, Donald Trump called this invasion brilliant. He said what Putin was doing was brilliant 3 years ago. And it was supposed to last, by the way, 3 days, maybe 3 weeks. We're 3 years into it right now. The Russian economy is on the verge of collapsing, and Russia is out of offensive combat power, and Ukraine continues to defend. So nobody in the Oval Office should dare to lecture Zelensky. Well, screw you guys.
That shows more about you than it does anything about Trump, and it does anything about the war. That you scream at everyone else for not having all. And it's embarrassing, and it's why you lost this election and will continue lose. And before anyone puts words in my mouth and tries to have a gotcha on me, no, I don't stand with Russia either, okay? It's okay to not support either. Have we ever thought about that? Have you ever thought about the fact that maybe both sides have acted irrationally and ugly? Have you ever thought about that? That's okay. That's okay. You don't need to pick a side. You could just pray for the families and hope to God that peace is made soon. I know that's really hard to grasp. So don't you dare, any of you, put words in my mouth saying she's pro-Russia. I'm pro-peace. I'm pro-stopping putting people on the front lines that don't want to be there anymore, that continue to die and be put at risk every single day over a fight that should have been over months ago. No, I'm sorry. Years ago.
Yes, I understand. You don't watch the Oscar. American actress Hannah kicks off her Oscar speech by showing support for Ukraine. Maybe she should move there. That is according to Twitter user. In an interview, Zelensky reporter Senator Lindsey Graham said that perhaps you should consider resigning. Zelensky responded, Lindsey Graham is a very good guy. I can give him Ukrainian citizen. Then his voice will gain weight. So what does Lindsey Graham have to say about this? Ingram posted this. What exactly is going on here? Sometimes I don't watch these Oscars. I decided to go through my feed to see if I can see videos. I think I'm going to do a different segment so you can see what happened at the Oscar. So stay through. Now in another video.
Adam. Go there. What's up, my brother?
Afternoon, people. So I put a post on earlier regarding the Trump-Vance Zelensky debacle yesterday. But one of the points I made was that the European forces, England, Germany, France, Netherlands, and all the other countries, are seemingly sort of potentially hinting at the fact that they might be prepared to step into the breach, that they might be prepared to put forces on the ground in Ukraine to try and keep the peace. And then you've got hawks in this country saying that we need to be prepared to go to war with Russia. I just wanted to point out the complete insanity of that. Without the backing of the US, the entire European forces wouldn't last probably much more than a couple of months against Russia. Now, Russia at the moment is in a bit of a depleted state because they've been fighting the war against Ukraine. But Putin would have no hesitation in just chucking everything into a land war against us if need be. I just wanted to give you some numbers to run through. So the entire combined forces of the Army, Navy and Air Force for the UK totals roughly about 180,000 people. But that includes all of the non-fighting staff. So that includes mechanics, cooks, HR staff, trainers, logistics people, radar operators, etc., etc., etc. Thousands and thousands and thousands of those. The actual fighting staff, fighting capacity, is roughly speaking, depends what reports you read, anything from 70,000 to about 90,000. The army, I believe, is roughly sort of high 60s to 70,000. But the problem is, it's not just for staff levels, it's the weaponry. We have very limited numbers of tanks, very limited numbers of missiles. Even just plain stuff like bullets would run out very, very quickly because we've just not been geared up for war for decades now. And we've been cutting things to the absolute bone. So if we ever entered any sort of a serious land war anytime soon, everything would run out very, very, very quickly. Now, we could try and gear it up.
What kind of diplomacy are you talking about? Saying that, you know, President Trump's attempts to solve this diplomatically aren't going to work. And you can see that did not go over well with either of the two men he really could use on his side. Just so the audience knows, you were born in Russia. Yeah, and you're from Belarus.
But it was the Soviet Union. Actually.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, you understand this region of the world a bit. What did you see there?
I feel like a child of divorce. This brings me right back to like my parents feuding in our living room.
I don't want to always extend the videos to be long. Thank you guys for always being there sharing all my videos. God bless you abundantly. Yesterday, I said something. I realized a lot of people understand how I speak. I was glad when I read through the comment sections and seeing how people are replying. I was okay because sometimes I feel like I should even stop when I see people complaining about my accent, you know, things like that. But I was motivated when I saw your comment. Please always share the videos when you see.
Yeah, these are real enemies.
Like, I think that they actually want to kill me. I mean, the reason I know this, well, they say so online. You know, there's like Reddit forums where they don't just want to kill me; they want to desecrate my corpse. You know.
If you see clips after this, that is just for the YouTube algorithm.
I don't know if he needs an apology.
Wow. I know I'm going to get killed on social media for admitting that, but so be it. And the fact is that it doesn't matter whether Vice President Vance planned it or just took the opportunity to bait Zelensky. Zelensky took the bait. Okay. And
what happened at the White House today?
Today, Donald Trump irreparably destroyed the 80-year-old post-World War II international order.
An Oval Office ambush of an American ally that will reverberate all around the world and stain America's image for years to come.
That was, to say the least, the most contentious confrontation between world leaders perhaps we have ever seen, certainly on television.
It was a truly historic moment, not in the good way. One that I fear realigned the world order, upending the only foreign policy consensus that most living Americans and Europeans have ever known.
A complete and utter mess. We don't gain anything by acting like bullies, and this is what bullies do.
I think there's no question that this was a setup. You heard Donald Trump say at the end of that clip you played, this is great television.
To issue an apology tonight?
Absolutely.
All right, so, but what else is going on? Not much. A World War III news, we're on the other side now. I don't know if you've heard that. Zelensky was in the Oval Office to discuss the big turnaround that the country has done, where Trump says now he's the dictator.
Statement for sure to say that it is one of the most astonishing moments that we have ever seen happen.